All right, so I think it's fair to say that honestly, one of the hardest parts of being a leader and owning a gym is dealing with other people. And it's difficult because everybody's the same, but everybody's different. And what I mean by that is, there are certain archetypes or stereotypes that you can have. You've got the charismatic people, you've got the loud people, you've got the quiet people, so forth and so on. But at the end of the day, each and every single one of those, even if you've got two quiet people in the same room, they're going to be different. They have different motivations, they have different ways of looking at the world. And so it doesn't really matter how good you are with dealing with people. Each and every single person requires their own sort of nuances, if you will. So when we are leaders, dealing with people is honestly the hardest part. Like dealing with our team, because everybody on our team is different. And so what works for one person may not work for another person. So what I want to do today is go over this thing known as a brain type. Now, most of us are familiar with the Myers-Briggs personality test. It's this long, drawn-out questionnaire that when you complete it will tell you, hey, you are this type of person, you are this type of person. While personality tests are okay, they can be challenging in the sense that, like, they're not always right, people don't always fit into boxes, and I get that. But what these two guys did, and they own a company called Project Evo, they basically took all 16 of the Myers-Briggs personality tests and distilled them down into 4 different categories. And these 4 different categories are actually the way that our brains process and translate information. So they took these 4 brain types and applied them to different people based on a quick questionnaire. And basically what this does is it allows us to understand how, when given a certain piece of information or when trying to come up with information, our team members or even ourselves can process that information in the best possible way. So let's dive into these 4 different brain types, figure out which one of them are on your team and how to handle them. So the 4 brain types are basically divided into 2 separate quadrants, making 4 different brain types. You've got external versus internal, and you've got abstract versus concrete. So if we look at it from a 4x4 grid, the first one is external abstract. It's what Project Evo calls an alchemist. Basically, this type of person processes information by getting it out into the world. So they also process big picture type stuff. So these are a lot of your visionary type people that really thrive when they tell other people and share their information and share their thoughts. I'm an alchemist. I actually find that a lot of gym owners, or at least like visionary gym owners, are alchemists. We think in the abstract, we think in the future, we think in vision, big picture type stuff, and we thrive by sharing it with the rest of the world. When we're not sharing our information or our thoughts or our programs or projects or whatever it may be, we feel very claustrophobic, very tight, and it can be a little challenging. Next up, we have abstract internal. So again, these are people that think in the abstract, not the concrete. They're not bogged down by little details, but instead of sharing it with the world, they thrive by simply just writing it down or maybe writing a paper about it. These people are known as oracles. So if you've got a visionary type person, but is a little bit more shy, a little bit more introverted, these are typically going to be your oracle type people. Next up, we have your concrete internal. So these are people that process information kind of like a filing cabinet, right? They process the details. They're really good at detail-oriented things, the finite details, the little steps. And they literally process it as almost like a filing cabinet inside their brain. They don't need to share it with the world. They just kind of store it away for later use. These are what is known as architects, according to Project Evo. And they actually translate and work really, really well if you're an alchemist, right? So alchemists and architects work really, really well together because they balance each other's strengths and weaknesses. Last but not least, we have external concrete, which are known as explorers. These are people that love to physically be in nature. These are people that like to see the small details, but they like to share it out with the world. They like to be outside. So again, where we have architects that are kind of a little bit more introverted, but fine detailed, explorers are a little bit more extroverted, but into the fine details. So think about like a party planner, right? Somebody that's super hyped all the time, but is super great about all the little fine details. And actually, if you're an explorer, what you want to do is you want to partner with an oracle. Those two really work well with each other, so they balance each other out super nice. So again, we've got 4 different brain types. We've got the alchemist, which processes information in an abstract but external way. These are visionaries that are super extroverted. We've got oracles, right, that are a little bit more introverted, but still abstract, so visionaries, but a little bit more quiet and introverted. And then we've got your architect, which are like super finite detailed, but also pretty introverted. A lot of these are like your typical genius type people. And then we have your explorers, which are much more extroverted type people, but still super good with the fine details. So what I recommend, go take a look at your team. How does each one of your team members process information so that they can thrive the best? Like if you tell a team member to come up with a project, how is the best way for them to come up with a project? I know for me, it's for me to stand on a whiteboard and then tell other people about it. But that may not work for everybody. So take a look at your team, figure out how they process information, and then take it from there. It'll give you a better look into how to work with each one of your team members individually. Well, I really hope this helps. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you next time.